Welcome to Exhibition. And hello, Lucas Grogan.
Hey Richard, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good to see you again. And your exhibition is late last night at Hugo Michel Gallery in Adelaide. I guess the first thing we have to say is walking into the space, looking at the works, most of them are blue. And in the past, many of them have been blue. What's this thing with blue?
Look, to be honest, it's a problem-solving exercise, but it's also my favorite color, the color of my eyes. It's culturally unspecific, and yeah, like I'm a cheap bastard. I just have to buy 2 tins of paint.
But I know that a long time ago, I think it was around 2015, you decided that you weren't going to work for a year, and then you went away to Italy, and the first thing you found was a whole lot of blue wool that you really enjoyed the colour of, and all of a sudden you were back into work, into embroidery. So blue does seem to have some significance for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 2015, I went to Europe for the whole year, and I decided not to make work. And then 2 days into it, I found this piece of Italian wool that was the most brilliant blue. And slowly, when it was raining or when I was hungover, I would just embroider into it. And yeah, it's just my thing, man.
What is also very obviously your thing is a love for, maybe even an obsession with, pattern and the creation of pattern. How has that focus on pattern evolved for you, and why over the years?
It's kind of like, you know how some people can do Sudokus and other people can't? I get a real joy out of doing Sudokus, and patterns are just the same. So I don't really like mixing colors. So I mix patterns. And so, yeah, that's my jam. Like, that's what I love to do. Like, I've spoken about this before, but like, you know, I think about push, pull, twist, you know, not warm, cool, stuff like that. Yeah,
So,
I just
but,
love
so
it.
that sort of dynamic of shape and structure seems to be built into the patterns. Some of the works seem to have almost a topographic feeling or almost a fractal feeling. If we looked at a work like, for example, The Clown, there's almost a sense of fractal and topographic design coming into that figure.
Well, I don't do portraiture. Like, other people do that better than I. That little series of small works, that was my attempt at actually doing portraiture. So I was really focused on the patterns of certain world leaders who have changed the world in a awful way. I was looking at the ways, like, they all use the same playbook, and in that one he was stitching together lies. So the clown is actually about like almost like a stitching of the wound. So that's where you may get the fractal element from it. But believe it or not, I was actually trying to do portraiture in that one.
Well, there you are with the portraits of world leaders. So I guess you have to tell us who the devil is.
It's, well, it's, you know, Trump, Johnson, Morrison, Jinping, Bolsonaro, all those guys, all these guys who have
All
risen
rolled
to
into
power.
one.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I'm like, but they're all the same. They're all playing the same playbook, all using the same pattern to, yeah. And I was thinking about that when I made those works.
Mm. You have commented in your statement around this particular show that obviously there is concern from you about the state of the world, of international affairs. We're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. How are you reflecting those feelings in this exhibition?
Well, I started making this late last night, last year, and I really thought when I was making the clown and the thief and stuff like that, I thought that was the worst of it. And then the bushfires happened. Then COVID happened. And I really wanted to not make an angry show. I really wanted to like make a extremely delicate and beautiful show. Like that was my focus. Yeah, but unfortunately, I didn't want to make a show about the apocalypse that we're currently in, but really that's what I did. But I tried to give people like a sense of reprieve. Like things aren't going to be this bad forever.
Isn't part of what you do, though, in quite a number of the works, that that blend of visual, particularly patterned beauty and intricacy and delicacy, combined with a degree of apocalyptic vision?
Yeah, well, one of the works is called The Whip. And I think my favorite artists are The Whip with the bell on the end. Like it's a Martin Espada. He's a Cuban, Puerto Rican poet. He's my favorite. And the best art is a whip that racks your back, but with a sweet little tingle on the end. And that was the premise of the show, this apocalyptic nightmare. And at the same time, I was also looking at, like, during the plague and other pandemics, what art emerged out of it and what was interesting. And I was looking at Dürer a lot. So I decided that I would make a sort of a hibernation of Dürer meets Cressida Campbell meets Bridget Riley in my way. So that was what I wanted the show to be. I don't know if it worked, but
Well, that is certainly one heck of a trio, a hybridized trio. But we do see that that immensely complex and beautiful patterning, complete with apocalyptic torment. I'm thinking, for example, of a work like a blue bow, where you've got a blue rainbow, but also in the roiling seas beneath, there seem to be a lot of consumed figures being drowned. That's the kind of apocalyptic feel of it.
Yeah, well, I grew up super ultra Catholic, and so a rainbow means it's God's symbol of saying never again. I'll never do that to you again. And because I'm an atheist, he sends a blue bow, and global warming is gonna fucking sweep us all. So it's like it's a little backhanded, beautiful compliment.
Well, speaking of that religious background of yours, one of the works is also called The Ascension. And again, there appears very much to be a story, a narrative in this. And I'm not sure, it looks as though, well, it's certainly a spacecraft, but is it actually a reference to the Mir satellite?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, because 100%. You actually utilised the Mir satellite in a major work of yours quite some years ago, didn't you?
Yes, multiple times. Yeah, it's like a home away from home, an imagined heaven. Yeah.
So tell us about the Ascension. What's going on there?
The ladders that they build for these headless men, they'll never ascend, but they're trying. And you have all these jokers and jesters in a Dürer style, laughing at their attempts to flee a dying planet.
What's the story with the symbolism of the headless men?
Well, in the last at least 12 months, haven't we all lost our minds a little bit? I certainly feel like that. I feel like it's every time you turn on the news, it's just unbelievable. Like it feels like a sitcom or a great Game of Thrones drama. Like you just can't believe what's happening. And so you just have to set yourself aside and you set your mind aside and just go through the process of trying to get through day to day.
Well, part of what takes you through the process of day to day is the actual manufacture of works. I noticed just recently on on a social media post of yours that you were, well, I won't say complaining, but you were making reference to, the really laborious nature of sitting all day intricately making these patterns. Tell us about that actual sense of labour, because many of these are very large works with a huge amount of patterning.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like an instilled work ethic. I don't have much else to do. And I like I described, it's like a puzzle to me. Like there are no pre-sketches. It is like discovering it, and yeah, I must admit, I'm addicted to it. There's no other way to say it. Like I love the process of making things difficult for myself.
Well, looking at a difficult work, let's look at the links first. And when you set out to make something so large and so complexly patterned, what is your plan of attack? How do you structure the making of a work like that?
The links took a month to make. That's a whole month. And I was really conscious of, things were pretty dark when I started that work. Like it felt like the world was falling apart and everything was going really bad. And I really didn't want to amplify that, because what I noticed was so many of my friends and peers and even people I didn't know that well were reaching out, and we're all talking to each other. And even though it feels like a real dark age that we're currently in, we're making links left, right, and center. And they're so lovely and so beautiful and so surprising and so detailed. And that's what I wanted to make the work about.
Well, you have set yourself a task that never ends, in a sense, with one multi-panelled work, which I guess for the exhibition is divided into two parts, and that is the universe. There's one corner of it and another corner of it.
Yeah.
You really have set yourself both a physical and an intellectual task with the creation of all of these different constellations in the universe, new ones of various ways. Just give us an idea of what you're making in the universe.
I thought for a hot second we all got quite depressed during this whole lockdown thing, and I went, well, you know what, my universe currently feels a bit small, but really my universe is gigantic. Look at all these books I've got, look at all these artworks I've got, look at all these amazing artists who may not physically or be near me, but I look at them all the time. So I wanted to sort of reflect that. So I got all this timber and I recessed, like with a drill, I recessed thousands of stars, and then I used them like thinned out enamels, and I wanted to create like this universe, huge swarming thing. And then I named each one. I just went through book by book that I had on my shelves, and I renamed all the stars.
Every star in your created universe has a name, and you've written that name down.
Yeah. And then I started, from my perspective, constellations are completely arbitrary. So I decided, I'll do the same as well. So I just made constellations about how hard it is to be an artist, like the practice green, or like the faux friend, or the solid mate, or the gallerist from hell, and stuff like that, Yeah, that's my universe. That's what I do every day.
And your universe is also filled with words, and many of your works over the years have not only been built on patterns, but they've been built on words and word play. Why has that been important to the works that you've produced?
Language is a lot like a pattern. I mean, to effectively communicate to each other, we need to like join the dots essentially. So that's why I've always used language. But also, it's a great reprieve from the labor-intensive nature of patterning. So I can fling off a supposedly haphazard phrase and then back up the most perfect pattern. Some artists discover their paintings, I will pace around the studio until I find out what the title of, or what I want to make. I'm like, so I'll pace around and I'll go, oh no, I want to do a burning bridge. What does that burning bridge look like? I don't know, but I need the story to come first.
So do you have a visual picture of that burning bridge, or an idea that you then have to bring form to?
Yeah, I have to bring form to, like, definitely 100%. And because I don't do sketches, all my journals are completely text. Like, that's how I actually made the show. No sketches.
Going to the title work in the show, or the work which is titled the same as the show, which is Late Last Night. Take us to that work. A single figure, basically, but apparently holding a mobile phone. Is that correct?
Yeah, selfie, like a nude selfie, at the end of the night. Or actually, now in hindsight, the beginning of the night, because that's the earliest work in the whole show. Myself as the universe, looking at myself, surrounded by everyone asleep.
Maybe we can finish up with one particular work called The Stars, and it's got many interesting elements in it, but one that very much caught my eye is it appears to have wallabies in it. What's going on?
Yeah, nail-tailed wallabies. Yeah. So during the whole bushfire thing from when it began, November, December, my studio got transformed into a wildlife medical rescue depot. So we had this enormous amount of supplies coming to our shed that sort of overwhelmed everyone. We didn't realize how generous everyone would be. But yeah, so that was an element that I definitely wanted to incorporate into the whole show. So all of the works, bar one or two, have Australian fauna all the way through it. And yeah, it was just another part of the apocalypse that we're currently in.
but it was therapy for the apocalypse. It was a positive step that you were taking and making and offering. So yeah, it sounds as though there's optimism there, and certainly from what you've said, there's great optimism in this exhibition. So, Lucas Grogan, thanks for sharing your exhibition with us.
Cheers, mate.